Wow, I'm going to whisper. Okay, so this is kind of a change in the Sunday school routine because Peter was going to be away, and Caleb, I think, was stressing a little bit about what are we going to do, and I had something that I had been wanting to present, and so today is going to be a little different. I don't know that it's going to take the whole time, but I'm going to introduce to you ministry that's called Grief Share, which I personally am very interested in, and I am interested in trying to start up a grief support group through the church. Okay, and so today I'm here just to sort of talk about that and to, I guess, uh, share kind of what I think, and then I'm also probably going to be asking for questions because at this point it's like I'm going to talk about this with some people and then hear what people have to say, and then hopefully from there we're going to kind of develop a bit of a plan about how to move forward, okay? And so I appreciate you guys being here, and I'm going to start just by saying a little bit about me and I put Jeff's story. My own personal journey with grief. I was a guy who no one ever died in my family until I was 20 years old when my great-grandfather died. And so I didn't deal with grief really as a kid. And then my grandpa Gleason died when I was about 26. And I was actually, I would say, relatively, had good relationships and knew both of those grandfathers who I just mentioned. And so, anyway, and then my father died when I was 31, and that was probably like the real place where I kind of began a bit of a story with grief, is what I would say. And I think I put here in my notes that, I'm sorry, and then hang on just a second, and then recently, you guys know Norm died, who was my stepdad, which. Yeah. So those four people I feel like are kind of like the main ones who I have had to, I guess, deal with that. Okay, and all on kind of different levels. But I would say, having lost my dad was probably certainly the hard. I would hope obviously the hardest one. But these guys, all four of them were believers in Jesus. Okay. And so for me, that meant grief, and me as a believer also meant that there was a lot of hope in that. And so I put this note here saying my journey with grief, I think, has been relatively easy because of hope in Christ and because of what I know that my dad and my grandpas and actually so many people ahead of me in my family have been believers. Okay. And so during that first year when my dad died, I said this to Kyle, and he goes, "They sent one to you?" And so that my brother's wife, so my sister-in-law's father was the pastor of a pretty big church in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and really kind of out of the blue in that first year when my father died, I got a booklet in the mail that was about grief and kind of a journey through grief and what life looks like in the first 3 months or something like that. And then 3 months later, I got another one from them, and 3 months later, another one from them, from a person who I've never met, only connected with through Bob Reed, who is my brother's father-in-law. Okay, and so that ministry was really helpful for me because those booklets, really, I appreciated the information that was in those, and they just sort of helped me kind of process maybe what I was going through. And so I point that out just to say that was coming from a church that's in Pennsylvania where I have really, I was there for my brother's wedding and maybe have been there 2 other times besides that. But they helped me. And so, and I shared those booklets, and I have absolutely no idea where they are now, and that's fine because I try to pass them on to people, okay? And so this ministry helped me, and during that time, I really was kind of in my heart that was like, and it was really this issue of I was thinking, if I'm ever a pastor, or when I'm a pastor, because this was, I think the calling maybe was there at that point. I want to do that, okay? And so I don't have those booklets, and I'm not intending on sending those booklets out to people, but I do have a heart to help people with facing grief, okay? And so that's a little bit about my journey. Fast forward 15 years to just earlier this summer. You guys, I think, know that and honestly, consider how this might go. I was put in as a pastor in October of 2020, and then I worked as a teacher, and then I think everybody knows that I started being paid as a part-time pastor in in July. And literally, I think in the first week, then I had some friends with a child die who said, "Can you do this funeral?" And so I did, and absolutely wanted to help them in that case. But I found myself going, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to help them exactly, and I don't know. Yes, I've had my own story, but my story is completely different from theirs. And so, even in going and visiting with people later, just a couple of times, just going, I don't know how to help them. Like, I know that they need help, but I don't know for sure how to do it. Okay, and so, so I happened to be with Matt Zare, who's a counselor, and I just said to him, "Hey, do you have any resources or whatever about grief counseling? Because I'm interested in that." And he just said. He was looking on his bookshelf. We went up to his office, and he's looking at his book, and he's like, "I don't see it anywhere." He's like, "Just look for anything that says Grief Share." And so I go to Google, and I look up Grief Share, and I find this website from this ministry that I'm going to present to you today that I think is super thorough, very well done, and I want to be part of it, and I want to encourage you guys to consider if you want to be part of it, okay? And so I asked the question, and I got a great answer, I think. And so if I turn this on, it actually works better. And so why is the grief ministry needed? And some of this is kind of in what I just said. We have people all around us, even actually this week, and you guys know from GCC chat, and there's been, my mom's family's had people like my uncle, and then my grandpa, my uncle, and then Norm, and then my grandpa, and then another uncle just this past week. And so that's a whole bunch of grief even right there close to us. But I put here, we have people all around us who are walking through pain from the death of someone who is close to them. We don't have trained grief counselors in our church, and I put in parentheses, we don't have trained grief counselors in this community. And so we don't know what to do, and we don't know what to say, and we don't know what to not say. And that's me. That last one is definitely on me. I don't know how to act, and I don't know how to support people, and I don't know what are the wrong things to say, because I'm afraid that I possibly have said some of the wrong things, okay? And so I think there's a need in the community, okay? And so, and then I was going to say, then someone who I used to work with find out her husband died in the, early in the morning just this past week, and so I go to calling hours on Friday to some teenage girl, or not teen, they're young adults, college-age ladies and their mom standing there. Their father died, or this lady's husband died, and so there's grief all around, okay? And I bet if I asked you guys, you could say relatively recently maybe you know someone who has faced a loss, okay? And so I want I want our church to be a place where people can come and find some hope and find some healing in that. And so I put this video. If I click it, will it just play? Yes. Okay. Hang on. Thanks, Elliot.
going to be people there who had a really... And I would be taking something away by walking in with my old loss.
When I got there, though,
I was made to feel so at ease that I could express myself and get it off my chest.
That what I experienced was common with other people. And man, that was freeing. It was so freeing to find out that I wasn't just crazy.
I could put that burden down for a while. I could be honest. Maybe let a little of the crazy out.
The freedom to forgive my parents for not being around, as silly as that sounds.
I used to think that time would heal wounds. And time doesn't heal wounds.
Grief never really goes away, but it can be turned into something different, and that something different can be hope.
Because now I have tools to work through it and to go to the Lord immediately and lean on Him.
Lamentations 3:32 says that though He brings grief, He will also show compassion. And yeah, I was grieving, and it wasn't fun, but at the same time, He was there and He was sitting with me in my pain, and He had community around me.
Feelings of loss that bring us together and help us to support each other in ways that bring us outside of our situations to a greater understanding of the bigger picture of what God's trying to do.
Jesus tells us there's going to be many troubles in this world, but to take heart, I have overcome the world.
I can take the next step. I can do the next thing.
I was relying on myself, the power of one, instead of relying on the power of the one, that I could find true recovery.
Through grief recovery, I found that it's not so much about death, but it's about life.
So I put here, what is Grief Share and who's it for? And so really it's for people, and you heard that one lady say, I was afraid I was going to come in with a kind of an older situation and there were going to be people with fresher hurts. And so I kind of show that. I picked that particular video because it's like really shows kind of the things that people face that we just don't necessarily, I don't know that we can understand unless we've been through it. And certainly I think there's different levels that we've dealt with grief, but I think that the reality of it is that what I want to be able to offer to people is how can we talk about it, how can we kind of process through it. And so anyway, what is it and who's it for? This is a screenshot just from like the opening part on their website, and I was looking really at that middle paragraph that's in black that says Grief Share is a friendly, caring group of people who will walk alongside you through one of life's most difficult experiences. You don't have to go through the grieving process alone, okay? And so I just think it looks like a tool that I think our community needs, and I want to be part of it. And so the vision for this, and I've talked with the other leaders in the church, and they're on board with this, and they have been actually quite supportive of the concept. And so Grief Share has a program that's if I can just kind of explain the way Grief Share normally works is it's a 13-week small group meeting. Actually, this might be on the next slide. Nope. 13-week small group meeting with a video and a workbook and a group discussion, and then kind of assignments and like devotional booklet to take home and work through on a daily basis, okay? They also have a standalone one-time meeting called Surviving the Holidays. And so here we are in October, okay? Nearing the end of October, really. And so upcoming are the holidays, and so what I want to do is I want to offer the Surviving the Holidays event, okay? And that's going to be a one-time thing, and I actually have picked a date that we'll say is penciled in, but I put it on the church calendar, so it's penciled in modern terms, okay? And so if that changes for some reason, I'll make lots of announcements about that, but consider December 5th is a Sunday, and it's going to be I believe I put 4:30 to 6:30. I would like to say, too, that the closest Grief Share group that I have found is in Syracuse area, and I spoke with a lady who's from our community, whose name I won't mention yet, but she is willing to help us kind of get this kicked off, because the Grief Share people who I've talked to said it really would be helpful if you could have somebody who's been part of it before to kind of come and sort of guide you through it. And so I think somebody is going to be able to help us with that, okay? And I'm kind of working through things. I ordered supplies for the Surviving the Holidays event, which means that there's some leadership training, and then there are just packets for the people who participate, okay? And so the vision, though, that I have for this is that beyond the Surviving the Holidays is that we would begin, hopefully, a group in January. That would be one of those 13-week groups. And then what they've said, the Grief Share folks have said that usually what they do is just roll right over into another group. And some people keep on coming and go through it a few times, and some people go through it once and then maybe help out leading, or maybe take a break and then come back or whatever. And so anyway, that's where I hope that this heads. And I will say too, regarding vision, like I intend on putting this information about this out there to our local funeral homes and other churches, just to be reaching. I recognize maybe a need in this space, but I think there's so much more need outside of here that I want this to be something that's available to our larger community. And so so this is coming, okay? What are we going to need? We're going to need some leaders. They suggest 4 people. That means maybe a couple people to kind of lead a discussion, but then a couple people to be like warm greeters and have some snacks out, or like coffee or things like that, kind of just sort of dealing with the room and that kind of thing. And then later what I would like to do is equip other people for maybe if we were to do multiple 13-week sessions, what I wouldn't mind is maybe to be able to have like a bit of a team, so that some people aren't committing to 13 weeks for the rest of the year or whatever, okay? And then what I cannot read that. I gotta leaders are, oh, sorry, there's a typo. Leaders are people with a concern for people facing loss, usually have been through a process of healing from grief. They don't recommend that leaders are people who are just facing a certain loss, and so they actually recommend that people go through the process first and then become leaders, but then and people who are committed to 13 weeks of weekly 2-hour meetings. And so when I talked to this one gentleman from Grief Share, he said, Jeff, what we want to have in leaders, we want to have hearts, not bodies. And I was like, whoa, I really like that, because what we want is to people come not just to be here to fill a need that's there, but I want people who want to be here and want to help people through this. And so I want to challenge you guys, and you guys are where I'm starting. You guys are like my practice group, and then eventually I'm going to present kind of a condensed version of this to the church, and to ask, are you somebody who maybe does have a heart for that and want to help people through that? And then I'm also asking people in the church to help promote this in our community. And I'm at some point probably going to challenge people, hey, here's an invitation. Who do you know who's facing grief, and do you think they would come? And I'll tell you, I mentioned my friends whose funeral I helped with. They might not come, but I'm going to invite them, okay? And if they come and sit in the parking lot and never walk in, then that's okay. You know what I mean? And so what I understand is that from the things that I've read, sometimes people will come and it takes a minute for them to be, or it takes a time for them to be able even to walk in the door. And so what I want to do is to begin to become available for that kind of thing. And also, sorry, I'm just kind of giving you, here's where I am on my notes. Can you see that? It said show video, which was a few minutes ago. If we're available for that, then people can come and they can jump into it any time. It doesn't have to be you start on week 1 and you come every week after that. You can come in week 5 and then continue. And it's It doesn't require that you have been there for the rest of them. And so then other things that I'm going to ask the church to do is help promote this in our community with personal invitations and social media announcements. And then I will probably personally work on getting specific information to the funeral homes in our community. Because if the closest grief share thing is in Syracuse, an hour, this lady who hopefully is going to help us would travel an hour to go to these groups. I'd like to bring people, from that radius, you know what I mean? So if we can, and I don't know funeral homes in, north of Watertown actually, but I'm going to try to get this out there as much as I can, okay? And so, Surviving the Holidays is going to be an event that we're going to do on December 5th. It looks like, I guess, 4:30. And so this is a clip from the content from Surviving the Holidays. So I'm pretty sure that's what I picked. So just imagine this kind of information being available.
The holiday seasons are very difficult for those that are in grief.
Grief Share Surviving the Holidays is a freestanding, one-time event that you can offer to your church and community for people dealing with grief.
Surviving the Holidays really helps them to be equipped with what they need to survive.
Order your copy of Grief Share Surviving the Holidays today.
The folks that come have told me over and over again the great benefit that they've received.
Oh, whoops. I guess I just picked the promotional ad, but there was one particular video that talked about what to do when you're invited to a holiday party. If you're facing a loss and you just are like, I don't know if I can handle this today, and how to like prepare yourself for just like an out, and what to say to a person who invited you, saying, I pencil me in, but I might, it depends on how I'm doing that day, and to just say. So they offer those kinds of tools, which I really think is very valuable. And so, shoot, there was something I was thinking when I was sitting down. Anyway, so some decisions have been made, so what's the next step? I want you guys to consider, and I probably have already said this, if you're called to be a leader in this ministry at this time, is this something that you might personally have a heart for? I want you to mention this opportunity to friends and family, even if you say, hey, I don't know a lot about this yet, but this is coming from my church. Like, begin to, like, say those things. And because I ordered the materials actually Friday, and so the things are going to be coming, and I'm going to start having more specific things for leaders, and then more specific information about the Surviving the Holiday event. And then I would like to ask you guys, please, I'm really sorry, hang on, I got to go back because I skipped my very last one on this page. I put prayer and fasting for this ministry. So I think this is a community outreach, okay? I think this can help people in our church, but I think more than that, not that that's not important, that is important, but beyond that, I think there's such a need in this community that I think we can
The holidays.
Reach people in our community and bring people in and help them with what they're facing, okay? And so please consider praying and fasting for this. And point number 3 maybe is a repeat, but pray for this ministry to lead people in our church and in our community to know Christ, to know him more deeply, and that they might experience healing and joy, hope, and peace, okay? And so I kind of want to open it up for questions because I'm sure that there are things that I haven't actually covered, and you might ask me a question and I might say, I'm not sure, because I'm really this is the very early stages of this, but does anyone have questions? I'm going to wait. If you don't have questions, or yes, Jeannie. What do you do for the 2 hours? So the video, I think, is 40 minutes, and then there's discussion questions connected to the video. And that was one of the things that they sort of touted, is that we're not just a small discussion group, but the video brings in like professionals who So the video has content that is like deeper information that I might be able to present, and so that's where you get the, I think, professional help, and then there's discussion to kind of get people to process through some of the things that they learned. And I don't know they said sometimes it goes for an hour and a half, but they said plan for 2 hours. So that's a good question, because I'm pretty sure I'll not be very good about getting a hour and 20-minute discussion going. Okay. They better have some really good questions in those workbooks. Okay. And I really hope they do. Okay. But thank you. That's a good question. And I think that's my last slide. And yes, sir. Yeah. 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 Yep. Yeah, this guy emailed because I had just sort of signed up and I was just looking into it and signed up for one thing to watch a particular video, and then I started getting some emails, but they were personal, saying, "Hey Jeff, I'm trying to reach out to you about this," and they were thorough, and I don't think they were just trying to sell something. I think they, like Sarah said, they really want to be helpful, and so part of the thing that they offer is that there's actual professional support. Hey, I dealt with this issue and I didn't know how to respond at our last meeting, and so then I can call and talk, or we can call and talk to somebody about that or whatever. And so there's that, and then also shoot, it slipped. I had something else and it slipped my mind, but I just actually feel like I feel like the Surviving the Holiday thing is a great way to kick off the whole idea, and then to say, hey, we're going to try to do a small group, and would you consider being involved in this on another level, okay? And so I'm going to have more information about this, and if it's something that kind of sparks an interest in you, I'd love it if you might just come and see me. If it's something that you are like, no, that's not for me, that's completely fine. Okay, and so I recognize that it's not exactly something that some people are like, Jeff, you're making me really sad this morning, and that's okay, okay? But personally, I am very hopeful about this because I'm excited about it because I think it's such a rich opportunity. The thing that I forgot was about them not like being pushy, and yeah. So this program is only available to Christian churches. So if you're a Mormon church, you can't do it, and so they won't sell it to you, or they won't let you use their materials. And so I say that just to say that, if you're like a local community center or the Lions Club or something like that, you can't do it. And so it's for churches. It's Christian information and Christ-centered. Okay, and so let me know if you have questions about it that you were too shy to ask in this really large. Yes, Peggy. We're going to have some sort of training, and I have to say that I can't say very much about that because the training DVDs are coming. Okay, and so we'll probably have to do like some sort of get-together where we try to figure out how to do that and who's going to do what part. Okay, thank you. That was good. Okay, thanks for your attention. It's a little early, but I really would like to encourage you if you guys would be praying about this, because we don't do a lot of new things. That sounds bad when you say that, but we don't often like take on like new adventures, and this is something new that we're taking on that I think is really, I think there's a lot that's going to be able to be offered here. And so if you guys would just please be praying about that. And I'm going to close this time with a prayer, okay? Lord Jesus, thank you. Thanks for opportunity for us to be here today. Thank you, Lord, for a sunny fall day. Thank you for the place where we live and the changes we get to experience in the seasons, and we just pray for your blessings. And as I think about seasons, God, we go through these seasons in our life where things change and we got to figure out how to do things. And so we just pray, God, for those seasons that we go through. And I particularly today think about people in our community and our church who are facing loss, and pray that you would use the upcoming ministry for us to reach people in your name and for your glory. And God, we just ask for you to be made known in our community, and that we would just be a place of healing and a place of hope and a place of grace and a place of compassion, and that people would come to know you. And God, that we would just, each of us, that we'd be growing and seeking you more. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.